Perfect no-skip albums of the 1950s. We've got 6 of them. I'm Mike.
And I'm Miles, and this is the Riff Circle.
An interesting decade. We're talking 70 plus years ago, and these are albums that still hold up today.
Crazy. I'm excited
Yeah.
about this one. I got some great ones.
And we're continuing the series along. We're excited for it. It seems to be everyone else has been enjoying it as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button so we know that you're enjoying it, and add comments down below so that we know what albums maybe that you were interested in from the 1950s that we should check out if we haven't already. So Miles, I know you told me that you have a really big one to kick us off with. I'm intrigued. I'm at the edge of my seat for it. So why don't you take us away with the first pick?
I'm going to take us back to 1953 with this no skip album. The story behind it is just absolutely ridiculous. It is Jazz at Massey Hall. Okay, now I got to go into the story behind this one. It should be a movie. I don't think it is a movie, but if it's not, it should be. Someone's got to make it. Jazz at Massey Hall, you have the New Jazz Society up there in Toronto, right? And they are trying to put together, they say, we want the ultimate lineup of jazz musicians to come play. And they did get him. They got the best of the best. This is the only lineup that I think can go toe-to-toe to Miles Davis' Kind of Blue lineup. Here's the lineup. And this is 1953, okay? We have Charlie Parker on the alto sax, Dizzy Gillespie on the trumpet, Bud Powell piano, Charles Mingus on the bass, and Max Roach on the drums. An insane lineup. It's absurd.
Amazing.
These are 5 of the people who literally defined these respective instruments. I want to talk about how things played out. Okay, so we're going to start with Bud Powell. He's fresh out of a psychiatric ward when they did this. And in Max Roach's words, he said, yeah, we wanted to do the gig and we had to go get Bud Powell out of the hospital before we could fly over there. Okay, so that's how out of the psychiatric ward. Okay, so he's going through a really...
This is our start.
Yeah, that's the start of this. Okay, so Bud Powell's hurting. He's at a time in his life he's not doing well. It was first believed that he was drunk as a skunk when he showed up because he needed to be walked out and helped sat at his piano. Later find out that it had nothing to do with drinking. He was that mentally gone still that he needed assistance getting to the piano. So things are off to a rocky start. Then you have Charlie Parker. Okay, Bird shows up playing a plastic saxophone. Not kidding you. His saxophone gets lost. His luggage gets lost. He has to go to a local store and get a Grafton acrylic alto saxophone that night.
What?
Okay,
What?
so he's playing the plastic saxophone. Then he has existing recording contract obligations, so he can't even show up on the album as Charlie Parker, arguably one of the biggest names on the whole thing, might be the biggest name on the whole album.
Yeah.
Instead, he's credited under Charlie Chan, which is his wife's last name. So we have Charlie Chan on the plastic saxophone. Bud Powell can barely sit at his piano. The other part of it is, you remember, this is 1953. There was a major heavyweight championship boxing fight that night. Rocky Marciano versus Jersey Joe Wolcott. The Massey Hall was embarrassingly empty. They had about 33% capacity. Because everyone else was across the street at the bar.
Next door. That's insane.
Oh, it's insane. So imagine you get the greatest jazz musician of all time, and Toronto said, yeah, but it's the Marciano fight. We got to go see it. And not only that, you have Dizzy, who wants to know what's happening in the fight and keeps leaving, going backstage to have someone run across the street to the bar to check. And then during intermission, he goes across the street to check for himself and is late coming back. So Dizzy's got half his mind on the fight and half in the game here, okay? Financially, the thing was an absolute disaster. Promoters couldn't pay them because they didn't have enough attendance, so the checks kept bouncing. So the pay was horrible. And Charles Mingus just co-founded a Debut Records with Max Roach, and they had the brilliant idea, let's record this. We got all these guys in one spot, let's record this thing. The sound engineer shows up drunk as a skunk and does not record Mingus's bass properly. If anyone knows Charles Mingus, you know that that's not going to fly. So what you hear on the actual record, Mingus goes back and overdubs his own bass. Okay. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
We have an absolute show so far. You have a pianist who can barely sit up at his piano. You have the arguably greatest saxophone player of all time playing a acrylic alto sax who can't even say his own name on the record. Boxing night destroys attendance, so they don't even get paid. And the best part is they crush it. They absolutely kill it. No rehearsal. They just organized the set list the night before, and they kill it. For me, the story sells it by itself, but I'm telling you, the musicianship is just as good on this thing. Jazz at Massey Hall is my first pick. Probably the greatest concert story in all of jazz history because of the legends that are a part of it. And that's my
Yeah.
pick number one, Mike. What do you got for us?
Amazing. The story is amazing. It's
It's
absolutely
insane.
amazing.
Absolutely
And
insane.
it,
I think it's the greatest jazz. I think probably the greatest jazz story of in terms of like one night concert of all time.
it definitely, I mean, it's you're
Obscene.
right. You're spot on where how is that not a movie yet? Knowing your collection and my collection, I have a feeling we're going to see a trend of jazz throughout the 50s here.
Yep.
But my first album that I've got is Thelonious Monk with John Coltrane.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a
uh,
gem.
this this is an absolute no skip album, start to finish. Starts with Ruby My Dear, ends with Functional. It's an incredible set of instrumentation all the way through. This is one of those albums that kind of like how not that story that you just told, but a personal story. This is kind of where this album sticks for me and why it's a no skip album for me. But I think it will resonate with many. So the first time I heard this album, my girlfriend and I were cruising up and down Route One along the beach, and it was just like a rainy, dreary day. But we were riding, we wanted to see the ocean, so we're just driving all day up and down the windy road on the beach there, and just decided to put jazz on. This is the album I
Love it.
picked, and it fit the mood
Ah, love that.
perfectly because it's like it's sad, but it's upbeat at the same time because you're at the
Yeah.
beach. You're
It's
seeing you're
got a
seeing
little
the
melancholy to match the rain, but it's got some fun in it.
exactly. Like
Love
like
it.
you're seeing the beach, you're seeing the ocean, you're seeing the waves, you're enjoying that, but at the same time it's raining and it's dark out. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of one of those perfect settings for it. And I think this album really just kind of sets that mood. The piano playing from Thelonious Monk is just incredible. Coltrane, as always, everything he touches is spectacular.
Yep.
So I had a tough time picking an album because I was really like there were so many John Coltrane and
Oh yeah.
Thelonious Monk and just jazz albums in general, and I was really trying to pick ones that resonated with me a little bit more than just it's an amazing album because I think late 50s into the 60s there's a significant amount of jazz that is all no skip albums.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
like
It's
a
insane.
very
Yeah.
very solid amount of time there
Yep.
that are no skip albums. That's kind of my first pick, and it's for both the musicianship and the amazing band that's playing, as well as kind of the mood that it sets. And some albums are just so good for a certain mood. So if you got a nice rainy day that's going on, I think this is a perfect album to put on
Oh
start to
yeah.
finish and just let it go through. So that's my first pick.
Excellent pick. And for the folks at home, if you have a no skip album that makes the cut, that edges out the other no skips album because it fits a time period or a nostalgia for you, put it in the comments below because we love reading that sort of thing and we love checking
Yeah.
out new music. So put it down below. Excellent pick, Mike. I'm going to launch in
Yeah.
my number two, Big J McNeely, live at Birdland
Mm.
1957. First off, it was not recorded at the famous Birdland in New York. This was in Seattle. It's got a nice background to it. So Big J McNeely in his band here, why this is so great and why I love it so much is it's got that X factor, this show. So the lore behind this, kid in the audience shows up with his brand new recording equipment and wants to test it out. So he tests it out here at this club, recording Big J McNeely. They didn't know they were being recorded. That's the key sometimes. And they just go off. So you have to
Mhm.
understand, Big J McNeely, for this jazz time period and what he was doing, this is the bridge it's the DNA bridge to what became kind of garage rock and roll. It's
Oh,
that
okay.
bridge between R&B, jazz into rock and roll where he's just rocking. The crowd is into it. You can see the crowd dancing here on the
Oh, so
cover.
yeah, you can.
There and you can hear it, that X factor's there where everyone is just hyping the crowd. McNeely's one of those guys where he'll play the sax as though he is playing a guitar. It's almost like a Angus Young type of thing. He's on his back, kicking
Mm.
around. He'll run into the audience. He's a big showman guy, and he's just going nuts. It's captured perfectly in this here. The audience is into it. He's into it. And it's just got that something about it where it's just you're hearing something special. And I love it. So really good sound wise in terms of what you're listening to historically, where
Hmm.
you're hearing the very first DNA roots of rock and roll happen right here. And he was part of that movement. And then you're obviously hearing the X factor of the show, and you're just hearing just the fans go nuts, and it's all there. It's just exciting is what it is. So Big J McNeely live at Birdland 1957, recorded by a young kid in the audience secretly, and then released later in the 90s. So that's my pick number two. Mike, what do you have for
Awesome.
us?
Awesome pick. Awesome pick. My second pick here, like I said, we're going to continue on with the jazz. So you got Miles Davis, Cookin. whole bunch of Miles Davis albums
Oh
in the
yeah,
50s
oh
that would
yeah.
have been great. But this one, just an amazing band that's on it. So you've got Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones, Red Garland on piano. Just incredible album. He had a whole series of these. So there's cooking, working, steaming, smoking, all different ones that play kind of into this series. And honestly, I think he did a good job with putting this album on when you're doing whatever the name of it is. So like Cookin is a great album to put on when you're cooking. It fits that vibe really
I
well.
like
Like
it.
it's got that energy that goes along with it. It really is a no skip album. So start to finish, you've got just an incredible collection of songs. So anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge fan of Miles Davis doing My Funny Valentine. My Funny Valentine, the live album, is probably my favorite Miles Davis album of all time. So this has My Funny Valentine on it. It's got Just Squeeze Me, Blues by Five. It's tune up. It's just incredible all the way through. And the members just make this album. And of them, this is my personal favorite of the Cookin' Workin', of those different series that are out. I think it's got a really great energy. And again, it sets a mood. And I think that's kind of what a lot of these jazz albums do is they just set a mood. You put it on and you don't want it to stop. And this is one that I tend to put the record on and I flip it and I flip it back and it goes A B A B A B and it just keeps going because it's like I just don't want the album to end.
Oh,
So
I
it just
love.
it just
I mean, it's such a
continues
feel
through.
good when that happens.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you start it and you're like, I'm gonna run it through and I'm still enjoying this. It's just getting a second or third play right now as we're doing it, and it fits into its perfect length to these albums that are like that, where the runtime just makes it really easy to just keep re-listening to it. You wouldn't want to skip anything on it. The way each song flows into one another and the picture it paints as you're going through, it really is just an incredible collection of songs from the Miles Davis Quintet. And some of the greatest musicians you're going to hear ever. And Paul Chambers specifically, I'm a massive fan of Paul Chambers. So really
I'm
any
a
jazz album that has Paul
big
Chambers on
fan.
bass is going to get me. It's going to pull on my heartstrings a little bit because I
Yep.
just think he's just such an incredible. I know he's been on some amazing albums, but I do think he's a little bit underrated. You don't hear people talk
Extremely
about him as
underrated.
much. So anytime I see his name on the list of musicians that are playing on an album, it's an instant grab for me where I have to pick it up.
100%.
Basically anything with Miles Davis Quintet that has Paul Chambers on it, I already own, as well as everything else from Paul Chambers. And this time period is just so good because they're so young and full of energy, and they're just creating so much stuff at this point.
Hmm.
And just, I mean, this is 1957. He had like I don't even like 5 albums come out that year. I forget. It was like some incredible amount of albums. They were making so much
They
music
were.
in these years.
And I think Paul Chambers, I'd put him top 5 most underrated jazz players of all time.
Yeah, yeah,
He's that
yeah.
good, and no one
It,
seems to know who he is, and it's criminal. He's so good.
he's on everything. You pull it up
I
and you
know.
look at, and he's right up there with the biggest of bass players
Hmm.
from the jazz scene. But for some reason, he just doesn't get talked about as much on a large scale level. People that know, but
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a larger scale level, he just doesn't make it into the mainstream as much as many of the other bass players from that time period. And there's some interesting stories about Paul Chambers and people thinking that he couldn't carry his own music and have his own albums, and he's got an absolutely incredible album under his name as well there. But anyways, that is my second pick, Cookin' with the Miles Davis Quintet. It's absolute perfect, no
Yep.
skip album.
Absolute no skip. This is an unplanned gem of a segue. My number 3 pick,
The bass, the album, literally the album I was
Bass
talking
on
about,
Top,
Bass
the
on
one you were
Top.
just talking
Oh
about,
my, I
Paul
love that
Chambers.
album.
Bass on Top is my number 3 pick. No
Oh,
skip. I'm going to piggyback off what you just said, Mike, and this was his rebuttal to folks saying, "Hey, he's great and all, but he probably can't put out his own album." Paul Chambers hears that, records this here, and says, "Yeah, right. How's this for an album?" An absolute criminally underrated, legendary album from Paul Chambers, 1957. He's got some Miles Davis on here. He's got some Charlie Parker on here. I'll never forget hearing the opening track to this.
I remember picking up the copy. We went to that little hole in the wall, middle of nowhere store,
Yep.
and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Paul Chambers, his
Yeah.
own album. I picked it up and we listened to it, and it was like mind was blown on first listen.
Yeah, the song
Incredible.
Yesterdays, the opening track, he's got this emotional, slow bow across the upright, and I was like, Jesus. You're telling me this guy can play lightning fast and then also bring it down to this
Oh,
super
beautiful.
emotional, slow, steady pace as well. Like he's so dynamic and he's just again, criminally underrated. So my number 3 pick to round us off, there's not a skip on this album. Every song is incredible. Bass on Top by Paul Chambers, 1957. I can't get enough of this one.
Absolutely incredible. That makes me so happy that you had that ready to go right after that.
I
That
know.
just like is it unplanned and just a perfect segue there. That's awesome.
Love
Man,
that.
that made my day. It made my day. My third and final pick here is quite possibly it definitely is one of my favorite jazz albums of all time. It may be actually my most played jazz album of all time. In my collection, I've got a
Interesting.
lot of jazz, and this actually might
Yeah,
be
interesting. Now I
it.
gotta. I'm curious now.
And you know, I say that, and I don't know why I make it sound like I'm not sure. It definitely is. It definitely is one that we put on more than anything else, and it's because my girlfriend loves it too. And when I said we were going to make this video, this was actually her pick. She said, "There's no way you can make a video about the 1950s and not include this album." 1955, I believe, is when this one was recorded and came out. And we've got Chet Baker sings and plays. So this album is, we talk about mood setting. This album is incredible. Let's Get Lost. I mean,
Oh
it's just like
man,
the song
Chet.
comes on and she always says, "Oh, you know, Chet Baker, he's so dreamy." And it's like it really is. That's the
He
perfect way of
he
putting it.
he is another king of cool for sure.
And it's, you know, it's a perfect album. It's the album that if anybody said to me, "Oh, you know, where should I start with Chet Baker?" This is an album I'd recommend to people that aren't sure if they like jazz or not yet. I think it's a perfect because it's got the balance of his cool singing in it as well as the jazz playing, and it goes kind of back and forth, so you're not heavy full into the jazz. It's a little bit softer, it's a little more melodic,
Yep.
but it sets a mood. It's a perfect date night album to put on. It's just it's so relaxing. It's so chill. You get the candlelit dinner going and you put this on, and again, it's one of those you don't want the album ever to stop. It just is not long enough. It could go on forever and ever and ever because you want the night to go on forever, and it's a perfect album for that.
And
And
and there's a lot going on in that album. He's got personnel on there. You got harp on some tracks. You got cello on there. Just I like that there's a lot of different things to hear in that album, which is nice.
yeah, it really is a incredible album, and it's one that everybody should listen to. I would recommend anybody who thinks they might want to get into jazz. It's a great spot to start. It's a very easy intro into Chet Baker. He's got a very deep catalog in all different eras as well, but I think this is kind of like right in the heyday, and it feels like the 50s. You put it on
Oh
and you
yeah,
feel transported back to the
love
50s.
that.
You know, I can only imagine how cool it must have been when this came out, you know, driving around in your convertible with this album playing in the summertime. It must have been just a perfect experience in that time and that day and age for something like this. So
Oh, for
that's my
sure.
pick, Chet Baker. Chet Baker sings and plays. Perfect album, no skips.
Folks, there you have it. 6 no skip albums for the 1950s. Mike, excellent picks. Folks, we want to
You
hear
as
your
well.
picks in the comments below and what decade should we do next? We love making these. I love doing them. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes of no skip albums because we're going to be doing a bunch of these. Each decade is going to get multiple volumes. We're going to add deep cut no skip albums. We're going to do different variations because these are too much fun. I
Yeah,
love hearing it. I liked putting the Paul Chambers back on, Mike, and now I got some Chet Baker to go listen to. So,
absolutely.
folks, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. Take care and be well.